Yes, good morning, Representative Kirchhofer and Senator Charbonneau. I really appreciate this opportunity to present information to you today about vaping among our youth and steps that we can take to really reverse this emerging public health dilemma. So, first, just starting out, might be surprising just to know that there really is this significant acceleration of vaping among our youth and teens. A most recent study from the National Institute of Health showed that 40% of all 12th graders uh, are engaged in vaping at some point each year. And that trend is just accelerating. So the issue of vaping is here, and it is impacting our adolescents and youth, our middle schoolers, our high schoolers, and our college students. And before I go any further, would like to thank you both just for your leadership in this area, dating back to at least 2019. I know recently in the state of Indiana, we passed legislation raising the minimum age from 18 to 21 to legally be able to purchase vaping products. And there are also some increased just kind of fines and restrictions for retailers that are selling products to minors. So really appreciate both your leadership in helping Indiana take a step forward on really addressing this issue. But the problem that we are facing is really a significant one. And it really is going to take multiple approaches to reverse this trend. The Indiana State Medical Association estimates that over 3/4 of our minors today can just go into a retailer and purchase vaping products directly. So now that the laws and legislation have been passed, we really do need to make sure we are monitoring and really cracking down on those retailers and fining and whatever penalties are necessary to ensure they are following the law to help reduce this really growing public health emergency. 3 out of every 4 minors just kind of think about that particular point. And really, the evidence is out there that vaping and the marketing of vaping products has really targeted our teens, youth, and adolescents. So, original marketing efforts, they reach about 24 million of our youth throughout the country annually. And each year, there are over 1 million Instagram posts, and that's just one social media platform that are using vaping products and using minors within that. And even to the extent that the FDA actually fined one of the larger vaping manufacturers throughout the globe called Juul for providing false and misleading information to our youth. And then the other thing that is really just kind of in the air is that there are over 7,000 different flavors of vaping products. So all of this is going just to promote this as a use, as a casual, harmless thing to do, where that is not the truth. And so anything that we can do to reverse that, to use this evidence to reverse that trend. But as I stated before, we are not standing still in the state of Indiana. I want to thank you for the recent legislation, which has imposed restrictions on selling to minors or basically individuals that are under the age of 21, restricting the use of self-service kiosks also to that age, additional restrictions on manufacturers for marketing to underage adolescents, teens, young adults, and also putting a restriction on the nicotine concentration to a maximum of 75 milligrams per milliliter of nicotine So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that last point in comparison to other countries here in a little bit. That can be an area I believe we can improve. So in terms of the options, based on the research and the data, the first thing that can really make the most significant impact is to reduce the maximum allowed nicotine concentration in vaping products in the state of Indiana. So in some of the better performing countries, the maximum is actually only 20 milligrams per milliliter versus 75 milligrams per milliliter. So this just basic restriction, it reduces the addictive quality of vaping products. And so that's why I start off with that particular recommendation. And then secondly, anything we can do to get within our middle and high school curriculums, the facts and the truths and the impact of vaping on teens, youth, and adolescents. And we can use the Center for Disease Control. They have some resources out there, but anything we can do to implement this across our state, across all of our middle and high schools, and make it part of a curriculum, whether it be biology class, whether it be health and wellness, or both, physical education. I mean, you name it, there are different ways that we can connect this information to the curriculum that all of our youth, middle, and high schoolers undergo each year. And I think that would be a step in the right direction. But my top recommendation is really to kind of sound the alarm and use our voice and our influence as a collective body to create change. And one way I believe to do this is to have a statewide commission that includes representation from all different types of groups, really focusing on the data and the impact, the negative impact of vaping on our teens and youth. And so not only could this serve as a way to galvanize the different communities that are needed to really address this problem, it can also show our kids that we are united in fighting this epidemic that is occurring, and no longer can it remain under the radar. So that is my top recommendation. And what my goal or what my recommendation is in terms of goals for this particular commission is to really identify and review the best practices that are out there, not only here in the US, but also globally, because this is a global issue, and take any lessons learned that other countries may have used to successfully reduce vaping among teens, youth, and adolescents, because there are other countries out there like the United Kingdom and South Korea that are doing a better job than we are in the US. The other charge of the commission would be actually to craft and design a model legislation that would actually be put forward as a vote and led by either the chairs of the commissions or yourselves as leaders on this topic. And then the other part, which is also even more important than anything else, is what is our communication strategy to really reach and target our youth, teens, and adolescents. And the reason you have the picture there is, I mean, we are all immersed in this social media, the phone, however you want to look at it. I mean, this is a part of our lives. So really putting together an up-to-date and relevant communications, media, and marketing strategy that really leverages all the social media platforms out there and specifically target where our teens and youth spend their time on a day-to-day basis for hours and hours at a time. So that in part is just as important as forming the commission in the other areas as well. So again, I would like to thank you very much for your time. I again appreciate your leadership in this area and welcome more opportunities to answer any questions you may have on the presentation. And thank you again. Thank you very much.